Are we live, Yam? It feels like we're live earlier than usual. What's going on?
Let's go.
Anthropic
Let's
made us.
go.
Anthropic made us go live 8 minutes before the official show start because we got some breaking news.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. And let's start this thing. Welcome everyone to ThursdAI for April 16. My name is Alex Volkov. I'm an AI evangelist with weights and biases from CoreWeave, which we're going to tell you all about in the show today as well. And what a show we have for you. We have our 4 co-hosts here, Jan Peleg, Wolf and Ravenwolf, and LDJ. We're going to have more joining us as we have breaking news. And I never do this, but I think for the sake of this show, this is absolutely worth it. We have breaking news from the jump. Let's go. AI breaking news coming at you only on ThursdAI. We have breaking news. Claude Opus 4.7 from Anthropic just dropped. Here's the system card. Folks, is this the top LLM for at least this week? What do we think? This just dropped, folks. Nobody has early access. We're just going to look through it like you guys love it. Yeah, go ahead.
Look, it's definitely the biggest news, 100%. But we need to talk about the evils. I'm just saying. We need to talk about the scores. All right? Just a spoiler alert. We need to talk about the scores. Yeah.
I want to talk about this thing just before we jump in there. We talked about Mythos getting announced and not released and supposedly too dangerous to release. We talked about this last week. I don't know if many people were expected a new version from Anthropic before this. Definitely they didn't send early access to many people, but if you look for Mythos in the system card, there's 331 mentions for Mythos. So it does feel like a little bit, and all of them was like, hey, this model is great, better than Opus previously, but worse than Mythos. So this does seem like another ad for this like incredible godlike tier Mythos thing that they're about to release, which is really funny. Yam, what eval specifically would you like to add? Meanwhile, yeah.
It's look, we got the official release in a screenshot from Anthropic's account, if you want to put it up, of the table of evaluations of the model.
And you want like the whole nice table, yeah?
It doesn't crash. It doesn't really crash, as you might want to expect that it will. It doesn't crash the previous model. Seems like, okay, we need to talk about this because the scores are not definitely like in the we destroy the previous version kind of model. It's not even comparison to different models, it's comparison to their own. So maybe we want to talk about this.
Yeah, let's take a look. We're gonna add the official Anthropic release evals table here. There it is. And I want to mention that we do have 2 breaking news. And thank you, Evals, for this comment. Qwen announcing they're continuing open sourcing is bigger news. I think that I agree. Incremental release from Opus is great for everyone, blah, blah, blah. And also, Dan Shipper, we're coming for you. But incremental release is great. But Alibaba, there was like some fears that like open source is gone and they released Qwen 3.6. And we're going to definitely take a look at 3.6. Let's see. Can we see this chart better now? I think so. It's a little hard to see, but let's walk through them. The biggest jump that I see, absolutely the biggest jump, is in SWE-bench Pro for agentic coding. This is a 11 points jump from Opus 4.6, which is already great. Opus 4.6 is already great at agentic coding, we know. And this jump is a hell of a jump. It jumps over GPT 5.4. with a significant like step up. And we know that like people said, hey, Opus for personality, 5.4 for coding. This seems no longer to be the case. Agentic coding is SWE-bench verified, nobody cares about. Yeah, which one stood out to you?
Agentic search. You look at this.
This one, browse com.
Then you look at agentic search and you think to yourself, wait a minute, both of them are tool use for doing, I don't know, long-term planning and tool use. And like, wait, what are we looking at right here? You get what I'm saying? It's I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that I don't
I
know
will
if
I
you
think
improve.
summarize. I will
Mhm.
summarize, and LDG, I want your comment as well. I'll summarize what you're trying to say is that evals are not everything. As we saw, GPT 5.4 came out and crushed Opus on like a bunch of benchmarks, and then like folks tried to use this personality-wise, and it didn't cut it for them, and they like went to Opus for personality. So evals is not everything. Also, worth noting that browse comp, agentic search, GPT 5.4 beats even Mythos. Even Mythos is not like jumping to that level. So I don't know if they're even optimized for that thing. Finance agent, this is the first one. Nobody even like Mythos didn't even test this. Finance agent, 64% on finance agent. I think the highlight for me, they don't have it here. I'm going to switch to the system card. Is the MRCR, folks. We know that Opus gives everyone 1 million tokens in the context window, but MRCR, the long context kind of needle in a haystack check from OpenAI, by the way, is the thing that I look forward to in every release, and they have it here. And I will find it in a second, and I will show you MRCR. There we go, OpenAI MRCR. This is absolutely insane to me. On 8 needle MRCR v2, Opus 4.7 gets actually less than Opus 4.6. That's really funny.
I
I thought
I think this helps maybe confirm it is maybe a new pre-trained model from
yeah,
scratch because
probably.
wait.
like
So what?
yeah.
LDJ, what are we saying? Again, I wanna like make sure that we're saying the right thing. On MRCR, long context, I was sure when I looked at this super quickly before the show that this was 7 and like the smaller one was 6. No, folks, Opus 4.7 Max is getting 32% on MRCR v2, which is the 8 needle 1 million context window tests, and Opus 4.6 gets 78%. This
Yes.
means, yeah, go ahead, LDJ.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of goes to what I was saying earlier of like if this is a new pre-trained model, we might expect to see some wonky things like very different from the last model of different strengths and weaknesses. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Like in MRCR, it's performing much worse. But I expect in some other areas, maybe even in some other areas that are not exactly clear in benchmarks, it might be much better in dramatic ways to 4.6. But yeah, I think it does probably need more polishing with this base model, and this is just their first version out with it.
Yeah. What other evals? Wolfram, I want to look at the terminal bench with you because I know you're our terminal bench guy. Do you see the results
I
here?
already checked it out, yeah. And I get better results with the previous Opus 4.6 in terminal bench when I ran my own eval. So I use 1 hour per task, so there's a difference there. Sometimes they have different settings for this. So yeah, it's hard to compare. So at least they used 5 attempts for each one of the tasks as well. Same
Yeah, that's
setup
nice.
I'm using.
Terminal bench is sensitive to inference latency. Fixed wall clock timeouts mean slower decoding endpoint completes, blah, blah, blah. Our report score uses the
Exactly what
production
we
API
figured
endpoint.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thinking is disabled here. So it's using Opus without thinking. That is also a very important thing to consider.
That's true. That's true. And when you test it on Wolfbench, you use thinking, right?
I used the default values and I used the max thinking for comparison, which actually degraded the score. And the default is high. If you do not set a thinking level, it's usually high, as they explain on their effort page.
This is very interesting. They have a new reasoning effort called extra high. So now there's low, medium, high, extra high, and max. And max shows a very similar thing to what Wolfram we talked about last time. The too much thinking can actually degrade some score. So on Humanities Last Exam, max like lowers the score. It thinks too much. But this new extra high gets the highest score on Humanities Last Exam. We're about to exhaust the Humanities Last Exam. It's the funniest eval name that we know on the show for the longest time.
Time for humanity's last exam. This
Yes.
time for real underscore
This time for
real. Yeah, copy off. Untitled. Yeah, humanity last exam v4 kind of way. What I want to say is we're all cooked already at this point. Like everyone looking at the evals, who has the biggest number and so on. You know that if you do a good job and train a really good model, and I don't know, you don't benchmax to the end, people like us are gonna look at the evals and say, nah, this model is not good. But probably the model is really good and you just can't measure it on the evals. I just want to say for everyone who's watching, yeah, look, we're looking at the evals because this is what we have to compare, but don't get what we're saying wrong. It's probably a really good model.
Yeah.
regardless of the tiny numbers that might be lower or not as high as we wanted them to be. It's probably a really good model, and you can't just measure it.
I think
with simple
Evals just give
Evals.
us Evals just gives us something to kind of anchor on, but I absolutely agree with you. We need to run this model a little bit in Hermeses and OpenClaws and in Cloud Codes and etc. and just like play with this. I think they're highlighting the multi.
You need to look at the model and the harness, not just the model in a vacuum or with a default benchmark setup, but how does it actually perform when you use it with your agent?
Yep. I think they're talking about multimodality is significantly improved. Office QA and Office QA Pro have great jumps here. Look at this, 57 to 80%. Finance Agent, which is new. I don't think we've talked about Finance Agent. I don't remember. We should go take a look. RKGI 192%. We're looking forward to RKGI being fully saturated, and it's not here. It's really funny. It is by Mythos. Mythos just like crushes RKG.
We got the new one. We got the new one. We got scores of the new one. That's
no, it doesn't
that's
look
bold
like.
if we do. Oh
No,
no, we don't. Okay, okay.
Doesn't seem like they have run this.
Yeah, we forgot.
What is also interesting? Like we should try out this model. Yeah, folks wanted us to try this model with the Mars thing. LDJ, go ahead while I pull up Niston's Mars thing. Where is Niston, by the way?
So higher up on the system card, there's also the screen spot benchmarks where that helps test the ability for it to be able to accurately tell what part of the screen does it need to click on when it's doing things like computer use. And I saw some pretty big jumps there compared to Opus 4.6 when we were scrolling past it. I think I saw roughly 10% jumps, or maybe 15% on one of them. But this is Screen Spot Pro, and then I think no tools and with Python tools, we can see the difference there.
Yeah.
So Opus 4.6 is all the way to the left, which kind of makes it annoying to compare here. But yeah, 57.7% to 79.5%. That's almost 20% increase. Crazy.
And with no tools, it's the same as Mythos. Literally, like this is the same score as Mythos on 4.7 and Mythos. As I'm saying, this feels like a Mythos ad. And Niston, do you already have access to Opus 4.7? Milos wants us to run the Martian simulation test, and we should definitely YOLO it.
Yeah, this one I'm late. I was trying to have it fix my app. It feels incremental this time. Like it doesn't. That's just from one.
Incremental to what? Incremental to when they released Opus 4.6 with 1 million, it was awesome, or incremental to the latest Opus 4.6 that was like because they kept degrading it.
Yeah, to the latest, but I really liked 4.6 even versus 4.5. Like I noticed quite a difference. 4.6 was smarter. This one is not as much. Yeah, I'd say it's not as much of a jump from 4.6 to 4.7 as it was from 4.5 to 4.6. So we're gonna test some more. Yeah, let's.
We have a comment coming in. We have a comment from Nixor about the new tokenizer uses more tokens. It's calling it a cash grab. Obviously, folks, we have no idea what we're talking about. Tokenizer is how you turn text into tokens that the model understands. If a new tokenizer uses more tokens, Anthropic will get paid faster. On your you will end your max subscriptions faster. You will pay for API more. That's a very interesting way to point out a discrepancy there. I don't think it's like an active cash grab. If they change the tokenizer, probably there were reasons for this, multimodal reasons, but that's great. LDJ.
There's ways you can theoretically get, you could say, more intelligence per word by having the tokenizer be more granular, theoretically. So for example, instead of having it be more of like a word is like 75% or like a whole token, a token is, you can make it half, on average, half a word or a quarter of a word or 10% of a word, and make that more granular. So then it ends up doing much more propagations through the weights of the model for every single word, and therefore more compute and more intelligence.
Yeah, I just want to say that this is like an extremely open question in research. How exactly tokenizers influence the dynamics of the model throughout learning and when they are being used and so on. So I just want to say that I've looked and experimented with this a lot. Training a very powerful model in a completely new language. So yeah, you look into these things. I just want to say that there might be many many reasons for this. It's not necessarily a cash grab, even though I must say that it, now that you're saying it, I don't know, maybe. But yeah, look, you are right that it might theoretically lets you use more intelligence per word, but on the other hand, you are getting, if you are using common phrases and just large vocabulary, you can argue that it allows you to learn orthogonal weights for specific things that are more specialized and more intelligence for on this angle. It's very, very hard to tell. It's an open question, an extremely hard open question, by the way. But yeah, we need to look into this, by the way. We need to look into this vocabulary because we can, because this is one of the things that we can do. So
Yeah, it's true.
it's very interesting to look into this. Just saying.
Alrighty, folks. Opus 4.7. We're gonna test a little bit more, but as this has been a very busy week, then we'll jump into TLDR. So let's go TLDR. This is a TLDR for April 16. Let me just pull this up here so that you guys will also see what I'm talking about. And I think we'll start with who we are. Your host is Alex Volkov, AI evangelist with Weights and Biases CoreWeave. I'm wearing the CoreWeave hoodie here because we're going to mention some CoreWeave news as well. So again, as a disclaimer, me and Wolfram here are employed by CoreWeave. This is CoreWeave Weights and Biases, the only sponsor for the show. Just take it as you will. Nothing here is deemed financial advice. Okay, we'll just say this and continue. Co-host, we have Wolfram is here, Jan Peleg is here, Nistin's here, and LDJ is here as well. Ryan Carson is still in Japan. Hey Ryan, if you're listening to us, you are welcome to come back at any point you so wish. Today, guests, I told you about Quinta Kramer, Theodor Marcu, and Trevor Mons from Marimo. Folks, the opener item that I wanted to discuss is the ZL Continuum. After coming back from the AI Engineer show last week, I wrote an essay about where I feel AI engineering is headed this 2026, this quarter. The ZL Continuum is so dubbed because of Mario Zechner and Ryan Lopopolo, both speakers on the AI Engineer, both on the two ends of the spectrum of this new question that every AI engineer is asking themselves: whether should we even read outputs, code from our agents, or should we just YOLO? Yam, I see your face and I know where you are, but believe it or not, some people are still debating whether or not they should read code. So this is the debate. Nobody writes code anymore. Whether or not they should read code, this is the Continuum. I would love to tell you all about this because we didn't talk about this on the show. But I think it's a insight that I have, and obviously to cover a bit of an engineer if we have time. Obviously, in big companies and APIs, we have Anthropic launching Claude Opus 4.7 with 87.6% in SWE-bench verified, which we don't care about, but SWE-bench Pro also is bigger. 3x vision resolution, and a new extra high effort level, and an ultra review in Claude Code feature. The next item in big companies and APIs also has Anthropic in the name, but it comes to talk about CoreWeave. Folks, in the last week alone, CoreWeave has announced an insane lineup of new deals, all public. So CoreWeave signed up a new deal with Meta, and for the first time, yes, Anthropic and also Jane Street. And the line there is that CoreWeave now supports 9 out of 10 leading AI labs in giving them GPUs powers, which is incredible. And this is why I'm very, very honored to wear my CoreWeave hoodie for this show, because I think it's very, very big news in the world. And hopefully we'll get them the GPUs they need to stop bad service. In open source news, we have to mention a huge release, breaking news from this morning. Qwen 3.6 open source with agentic coding improvements, inference efficiency, and reliability for developers. Rivals models 10x its size, but I think the most important thing here is not the evals. The most important thing is, even after our friend Junyang Ling has left the company, there were doubts about their commitment to open source. This model has released with open source and the strongest mid-size LLM on nearly all benchmarks, which is really, really great. We should definitely talk about this. So shout out to the folks at Alibaba Qwen for a 3 billion active parameter model. Very, very good. Let's continue with the TLDR because we also have MiniMax, our friends that announced MiniMax a while. MiniMax M2.7 open weights. It's a 230 billion parameter mixture of experts, only 10 billion parameter active, and they say they match GPT 5.3 Codex on SWE-bench Pro. Very good model. Shout out to the MiniMax folks. And it's now been open source. As recent developments, the Chinese labs first release a model in API and only then drop it in open source. So we told you about M2.7 already, but now it's open source and we'll definitely check it out. In tools and agentic engineering, the corner we covered this new world of AI, vibe coding tools, etc. There's a lot of tools here. We're actually going to have a guest today, Theodor Marcu from Windsurf/Cognition, because they launched Windsurf 2.0, the biggest release since the Windsurf acquisition into Cognition. It has a new agent command center, and Devin joins Windsurf. Devin, we told you about. Ryan Carson loves Devin recently. I also started working with Devin a lot more, and now Windsurf and Devin are kind of one. So I can't wait to chat with Theodor about what's new there. I don't know if you guys use the Warp terminal. Warp is the best terminal that I ever had the chance to use, and I love using it. And they just released a great feature set for those of us who use something like Claude Code, etc. Now you can get notifications unified. It's kind of the thing that AI engineer last week many people talked about is the death of the IDE. And this is a very interesting thing. Windsurf is kind of moving away from the IDE-ish, and the Warp terminal kind of moves towards that spot that's not really an IDE, but an agentic runner. So now you can run a bunch of, you can run Codex, you can run the Claude Code, and you can see notifications in one unified space. I wish I had time to show you this. Hopefully we'll get there. And I think the last but not least point here in tools and agentic engineering is Anthropic launches Claude Code Routines. Folks, Claude Code has launched webhooks. This is the tagline. This is the new kind of automations. They have agents that run on the cloud, which is, I think, absolutely great. In this week's buzz, Marimo Pair drops AI agents Claude Code directly inside the reactive Python notebook. We're going to have an interview with Trevor Mons, who's going to show us what's that about. So basically, stateful notebooks like Marimo are usually tougher for agents, and now they're easier. So that's great. And also, Gemma 4. The Gemma 4 that we've been live and talked about for a while is live on 1B inference. Yam, you have a small comment, very small, tiny comment, super quick.
Yeah, I just want to say the Claude desktop app was rewritten probably from scratch. We got a completely new app, mentioning, because we talked about Claude. Yeah, we'll review it as well.
We'll take a look as we review Claude 4.7. Envision NVIDIA, I wish I have time. I really hope, I'll extend the show if needed. This is the craziest trailer that I saw that was built with AI, to the point where I showed this to my fiance, and only in the middle, she's like, is this AI? We're there. This is the, folks, if you know what I'm talking about, this is the Neil deGrasse Tyson / SBF video. If you haven't seen this, oh, you're going to have such a good time. It's 4 minutes. I don't mind dedicating 4 minutes of the show for it. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Specifically, we should mention Seedance has been kind of there and not there for a long time. Seedance now is everywhere. Seedance, the full Seedance with video support is supported everywhere now. They just YOLO'd it finally. I don't know about the security controls, but it's almost the top model. There's a different model that we told you about last week. Happy Horse, something like this. That is supposedly beating this, but Seedance 2.0 is finally available everywhere, and people are doing just incredible things with it. In voice and audio, we have Gradio Bang, the first massively multiplayer, completely LLM-driven voice game built on Pipecat subagents. We've played this. I played this. If you want to come at me, please try to come at me. My ship is, I think, roaming the universe as we speak. We're going to chat with Quindla Kramer from Pipecat and Daily, who built this game on top of the infrastructure. And also, Google launches a new TTS. I don't know if you guys saw this. Gemini 3.5 Flash TTS. We told you about a similar thing released from Google previously, which was the live, right? So you can talk to Gemini. This is not it. This is the TTS. This is text to speech from Google. I don't believe it uses voice cloning. I would love for you guys to double check me on this. But it has audio tags and scene direction, 70 languages support. This is incredible, and it's a dope model for sure. Google now stepping into the TTS game. In AI, art, and diffusion and 3D, we have so much there that we won't be able to cover even closely. But Baidu open sources ERNIE-Image, which is an 8 billion parameter text-to-image model. Tencent open sources HYWorld 2. It's a world model that generates real editable 3D scenes. They're not videos. You can actually edit them from a single image, and you can import them into Unity and Unreal. And NVIDIA launches Lyra 2.0, a single image to explorable persistent 3D worlds with code. So both companies are now launching something that the like the equivalents of World Labs from Fei Li is working really hard on, and it's kind of like a crazy thing for 3D Worlds. In other breaking news, I will say, old Unitary humanoids break the world record at running. Did you guys see this? Did you guys see the little robot run? We have to watch this after the show. Like it's just crazy that robots now run faster than humans. And also, the most important news of all Allbirds, the shoe company, pivoted to AI after losing 99% of its value, rebranded to Newbird AI, and now soaring 600 to 800% after announcement they're moving towards GPUs. A shoe company moving into a GPU company is definitely not the news that you guys expected on April 2026, but hey, here we are.
Yeah, there's something that Together AI released called Parquet that I think is pretty cool. It's an open source model that it's more experimental, but it basically just allows the model to loop and reuse its weight, similar to if people have heard of Loop Transformer or Universal Transformer. And yeah, they released some cool scaling laws and a paper for it. Yeah,
that's great. Who else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, a trending model on Hugging Face, a new trending model, Super Gemma, which is a Gemma fine-tuned. Super Gemma, just someone that has been doing it for a while. It's not just a random person. Fine-tuning models to be stronger. Came out with a Super Gemma, probably the strongest one you can run locally. So highly recommend. The same someone already quote tweeted the new Qwen. Already quote tweeted the new Qwen, so expect an even better one in the next couple of days. But yeah,
give us a link. Yeah, I wanna show this. Is this the Korean dude?
Yeah.
Songjung? Sure. Oh, okay. Let's show this. We're already past the TLDR. We can step into the testing.
It's a good model, sir. Good
model, sir. 100% uncensored benchmark performance, 18% improvement, tool call fixes, speed improvements. This is great. Super Gemma.
That runs on your laptop. That runs locally. That's the main point here. All of this in your laptop. That's crazy, man. We didn't have this.
People are going ham over this. Also, OX0 pruned the expert weights of the MOE Gemma and turned it into a 21B, and it ended up on top on terminal bench with the Q4 by pruning it and training it. So yeah, there are just so many of these now. It's great. It's like we're back to 2 years ago.
We're back at fine tuning. Let's go. I love this.
People are open source is so back. Open source.
I think I have to plug in here. I was supposed to save this to the this week's buzz. We are now hosting Gemma on Weights and Biases CW powered infant service. If you go to the main announcement on our socials, you'll see a code there. I think it's like Gem Drop. If I'm not mistaken, the code is, if you reply with Gemdrop, we'll give you like $20 inference credits. But also a reminder, many people don't know this, we support LoRa inferencing. So if you find Gemma LoRa's, you can inference on, like you can provide the LoRa link and you can inference LoRa fine-tuned Gemmas on our inference service. Super fast because we're CoreWeave. Let's go.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
This is what we're here for. We're here to teach each other, man. Yes, you can. This was built in accordance with the OpenPipe folks, which also is part of the team now. And you can do RL training on WB service RL, but also you can bring your own LoRa's just by giving it the link. And we talked about this on the show a while ago. I can definitely add this to the show notes. I think this is the longest TLDR that we had in the history of TLDRs, and it's now 9 a.m. 04 Pacific, folks. Nistan, how is your test of Opus looking? Let's talk about Opus.
Dude, by far the best. I can just share my screen.
You can share yours, and I will say I took your prompt and I just shoved it into Cursor, and Cursor is ready as well. So we'll show yours and then we'll show mine. Okay, let's show yours. Folks, for folks who have no idea what we're talking about, there is a Martian simulation game calculation thing that we've been running for a while. It's a very difficult thing for models to do, and we've been comparing those. People have asked us, Nistan, I don't know if you saw this. We had comments.
That's pretty cool, by the way.
Waiting for this.
Yeah. So it's.
Whoa!
I added a second prompt, guys. It's a realistic.
Whoa,
bro!
Let's go.
The mountain, but here is the stuff that really impresses me is things like when I adjust the weight and the payload mass, it calculates the total energy needed to launch the train. And then I can set the acceleration limit and stuff, and then it will make a shorter track, and the track digs through the mountain and then comes on top of the mountain. So it's actually modeled the mountain correctly too.
I've never seen this level of
Well,
Yeah,
Can
this
you
was
show
one
us?
shot.
Show us. We must see this. Come on.
So yeah, it's doing a second shot now. Now it did not add, for example, stuff like, let's just see if we can reset the whole thing. This is how it starts. It starts like this, and then
in first-person view.
Yeah, it starts in first-person view, but it calculates the total energy, which before I would have to ask it. And then, so again, it wasn't perfect, but this is the one shot. Like, this is the one shot example.
Does it show a little animation in the front where like it initiates and does like a beautiful thing? Can you switch back to code mode and back to the HTML window?
Yeah, unfortunately, it did not add the camera controls, but it has. It accelerated to 2G right away, and then it thinks about it, like how much is the weight of this payload mass that you're accelerating, and it calculates directly the amount of energy and stuff and the acceleration limit. And I set it up to 4G, so now it just fully went for it.
Cool.
And
I haven't seen mine. You want to see if mine is nearly at this level? I ran this in Cursor with max thinking.
By the way, mine was one shot. Okay, so that's just the one shot example.
Same.
And the prompt.
I haven't clicked anything. I just like sent your thing in Cursor Agents, the new Cursor Agents, and here it is. I don't know if you guys can see.
But what I do like, as Alex is showing, that is that I did notice what they said in the later stages. It thinks more, and it found an issue, and I saw much longer thinking around that problem in the end. So I really like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just
like
launch.
Adaptive. You don't need to take care of it.
All right, let's do launch. This is the thing that it built for me. It has
it built it like it added like lighting and stuff.
Yeah,
too?
there's reflections and lighting. And
and it looks like a mountain.
we have camera modes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoa!
Wow. It
nice.
made it look like the
it's
actual
going.
planet too. Maybe they're starting to train. Oh my God! You could kind of see there's a little wisp.
Yeah, you can see it. Look,
and a tiny bit of the Martian atmosphere as well.
Wow, man, that's beautiful.
Yeah. This is visually, this is the best. This is the best one now.
Okay, you guys gotta see this. I kicked off a test with Claude and just said, hey, I took a screenshot of the interface that we have behind, and I just like said, hey, rebuild this interface with SVG. So this is the StreamYard interface. This is the screenshot that like of my thing, and this is it's building it live. What?
Oh yeah. They added this in.
It's literally building it live. This is us in SVG, which is really, really funny. LDJ, I think, is the best one. But you guys can see Opus 4.7 rebuilding the StreamYard interface one by one. This is how it looks.
That's actually that's a very good test too, because it can do one SVG and it look like someone from South Park. But to do multiple,
no, that's crazy. That's totally crazy.
There is this is you.
Thank you, Opus. Thank you.
I wouldn't say that this is the best like coherence possible, specifically because look, there's 5 of us on the main window, right? But for some reason, there's 6 of us here in this main window.
It's adding more.
But it's rebuilding the whole interface.
It's building the chat. Wow.
It's building the whole chat.
I try a lot of SVG stuff. To do something this complex,
I'm pretty sure that this is HTML. The SVGs that I asked for is like rebuild this style UI.
While we are waiting, I took a look at the pricing, and Opus 4.7 has the same price than 4.6, so it costs exactly the same amount of money.
It also replaces the Opus 4.6 in Cloud UI. The thing dropped, so Opus 4.6 is now other models, and 4.7 is the default one. Pricing is the same, but tokenizer is different, so likely pricing will be different as well. And okay, this is running. We'll let you know, folks. I think it's time for us to move on to open source. or ZL Continuum? Where do we want to move on to? Because let's look at the time. We have a run of show. I want to make sure that we're on time. Yeah, I do want to talk about.
There's something new in the settings of Claude.ai for it has a daily included routine runs, and you have a limited amount. And if you go over that, you have to pay for the extra usage interest.
You folks, moving forward, we have to, as the show is short and we're already almost an hour in. And we have a bunch of other friends joining us in like 30 minutes, so we're gonna run through some of the more important releases. Let's talk about Qwen. I think Qwen is on deck. Let's talk about Qwen. Let's see here. So we're generally gonna talk about open source. We have a transition, and then we're talking about Qwen. Open source AI, let's get it started. Let's get it started. I think the biggest news from today in open source is that Alibaba is back with an open source model, Qwen 3.6. It's a 35 billion parameter, active 3 billion parameter model from Qwen. And what can we say about this model? Let's take a look. So
you can say that it's probably the best model that you can run locally, if you can run it locally. But you can say this is a very powerful model. Putting
I mean, you should be able to run. Yeah, you should be able to run a 35B locally, right? This is definitely doable.
Only three active parameters, 3B active parameters. That's pretty runnable. Yeah. Seriously.
The 73.4 on SWE-bench verified, up from 70% on like 23.5, 51% on terminal bench. We haven't tested it independently yet, so we'll see if it's worth testing or worth putting up. But they're saying beating the much larger dense 3.5 and Gemma 4 at 42. So like 51% of terminal bench beating Gemma 4. The base Gemma 4, we just told you about some quantized and fine-tuned versions of Gemma 4 that beat this. Natively multimodal with thinking, non-thinking models. Yeah, great shout out to the Qwen team. Let's take a look at the actual blog post and see if they posted like a nice chart for us. This is a chart that they compare to the previous Qwen and to Gemma 4. And we are seeing that nobody highlighted the chart. So we have to like understand which one is stronger.
I think it's the
Evals is a new thing.
Okay. Wait, what's that?
This is a new, I haven't seen Claude Eval yet. I think that this is a new thing that they started like testing on. Let's see. Claude Eval. Qwen Claude Bench, an internal real user distribution Claude agent benchmark. Open sourcing soon. Ooh, that's very cool. That's very cool. Qwen has an internal open Claude benchmark.
That means a lot.
Yeah.
That means a lot, man.
And on this benchmark, they have the high score on this model, on the small model. Obviously, the previous Qwen also has a high score. So 52, 52.6. But they beat everybody else. I haven't tested the Qwen models with OpenClaw, so I cannot attest myself. But yeah, this is a great release. Folks, this is a tiny model. LDJ, any comments on this? Wolfram, any comments on this from the open source folks? And comments in the crowd, in the audience, please, as well. Some folks were really celebrating the fact that this is a new open source model from Qwen.
Super exciting that they keep open sourcing.
Wait, how much is it? This is 3B. I'm completely out of.
No, it's like 35B total and about 3B active.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's a coder or an agent thing? I guess both.
It's a general model with a SWE-bench Pro at 49%.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, for a tiny model for an MOE, it's a lot compared to Gemma. Gemma is at 13. This one is 49 at SWE-bench Pro.
Yeah. That's
Opus
crazy. Yeah.
It's 54. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The previous Qwen, the 27B is like the dense one is 51, but this runs with only 3 billion active parameters. So this is like a very good bump. Folks are enjoying this in the comments as well. So shout out to Alibaba for the open source. What is the license? Apache? Not Apache. License. I can see the license. Before we celebrate, go to Hugging Face. See license.
We don't see it, Alex. We don't.
Yeah. I'm trying to look myself and I can't see it yet. License. license.
May everyone forget.
Oh,
everyone
Apache.
forget to
Let's
compare. Oh yeah,
go.
let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. All
I
right.
think we-
If there was any doubt that Alibaba is still on giving us open source models,
in the game,
Alibaba,
in the game.
Alibaba is absolutely
in the game.
Still
Yeah.
in the game. Yeah, let's
we
go.
love this. Shout out to Alibaba Qwen, folks. We should probably also mention the other open source model. We got finally MiniMax M2.7, also in open source, open weights release. This one has a little bit of a trickier license, I believe. I think I haven't mentioned here about their license. Their license is not fully open source. Open weights, non-commercial, free for personal research for coding agents. Commercial requires MiniMax authorization. This is the license, so not fully Apache 2. Still shout out to MiniMax folks, friends of the pod. They've been on the pod for quite a while. Terminal bench, this is 57% MiniMax M2.7. This is a big model, 230 billion parameter MOE with 10 billion active. Interesting, we should compare between the two, right? So let's look at SWE-bench Pro. This model is at 56%. 56% at SWE-bench Pro. The tiny Qwen is at 49. Yeah. The tiny Qwen is at 49% on SWE-bench Pro. So it's very interesting which model you would choose, because this model, the MiniMax 2.7 model, is not something you would run on your hardware, not at all.
But look, the small Qwens are absolutely usable. Like they are tiny, but like they're tiny, usable, kind of tiny. Everyone agrees.
And if you're running
not-
Hermes agent, if you're running OpenClaw, if you're doing some stuff that are not like crazy, like difficult,
completely free.
they're completely
man.
free on your Mac. And I don't know if a 16 gig Mac Mini will run this, a 32 or a Mac Studio, whatever. You can get fully offline. And the last concern that people have about OpenClaw is that, hey, you're sending your prompts to whatever OpenAI is gonna gun, and you absolutely can do it. So we're like on MiniMax. The thing that to remind you guys, they basically used Karpathy's like auto research type thing to like improve this model. So this is like zero human intervention. This model was like trained and RL'd with like 100 rounds of RL optimization, and machines learning to learn basically is the highlight of this model. So this is like the first self-optimized model that they released. They're saying it's 4 times cheaper than denser open weight models at similar capability size. 56% of SWE-bench Pro. That's great. The model's self-evolution capability is the most unique feature. Internal version autonomously ran its own RL optimization loop for 100 rounds. So basically, this is the model we told you about before, that like it improves itself. I think that, shout out to the team, great release. Not the greatest license, but okay. Anything to add before we move to other things of importance? Cool.
Interesting that it took a while to release. I'm just saying. Training a model you're about to release, why don't just release it?
This has been a new thing.
Maybe it was doubt. Maybe there were some doubt considerations, but thank you for the release. By the way, I mean, yeah, you promised and you delivered. Thank you very much.
And we'll probably see more models from them coming soon. All right, folks, I have to chat about this. Last week, ThursdAI, we did live from the London AI Engineer First Europe conference. Me and Wolfram were there. The folks joined remotely. And we also joined a bunch of conversations. We joined the speaker dinner. We joined a bunch of conversations. I chatted with multiple folks. And many of the podcasts from that episode are still coming, so watch out for those. And then on the way back, I sat down to write out my thoughts on this. And this turned into this essay that I named the ZL Continuum. Do engineers need to read code anymore? I want to bring this to the show because I want to talk to you guys about this. Wolfram, you probably had the same conversations that I had. We asked pretty much everybody on there, do you still read code? Nistan just tested Opus 4.7 and I saw him switch to the code tab, and that is very interesting because like it was, but basically this is the continuum that I outlined. There were 2 speakers on the keynote at AI Engineer. On the one side, this was a OpenAI's most AGI-pilled person, I think. Not most AGI-pilled, but one of them, Ryan Lopopolo. He came with a hoodie that says AGI-pilled, literally. And he took the stage on keynote and talked about that he's a token billionaire and code is a liability and we shouldn't look at code anymore. And he gave like a very, very interesting point there. And then the day after of the Vienna School of Coding, Mario Zechner, the creator of Pi, and Pi obviously is the coding harness that underpins OpenClaw as well and part of its success. talked about slowing the fuck down, reading every line of critical code, and that enshittification ensues and many vibe-coded apps are now like bugs everywhere and people are just okay with it. And he basically claimed, hey, you have to still read code and look at PRs. And every person that I've talked to is somewhere in between. And I think the highlight for me is that I'm probably way on the L side of things, but I also don't maintain any critical code, infrastructure code. So my question to the audience is, and to you guys here, is that where are you on this continuum? Where are you? Are you a Zechner? Are you a Lopopolo? Do you still read code? Do you feel the need to read code that the agents output? We'll do like a quick round and also like open a poll for our folks here. Let's start with Nistan. I think I want to hear from you.
Yeah, you're not going to finish the project if you don't read the code, if you don't do code review, especially if you can. Look, if it's a dashboard or something quick that you need, or even a whole app, then yeah, you don't really need to read it. Or if you've already set up all your testing and stuff and it's good, then at that point, you don't need to read it. You just end up with a much better app, especially if it's a lot bigger and a lot more complex. What I do is just once a week, I don't use the IDE, so I'm not sure about the chart. I just use tools like Glow and Bat to turn on Whisper, and I just go in the terminal and I just start reading. I just start reading every single file and talking to myself. And I also open the app, and then I keep talking to myself for like about an hour or two. And then I take that and I dump that into Opus, and Opus just gives me the whole like 30, 40 point to-do list. And this is by far the most effective thing you could possibly do to keep it from straying off into different directions. Because while you're telling it something, even you yourself have not thought it through. It's just like being a manager, or if you're not, or being someone that's paying for an app. If you haven't thought it through, then you want someone else to think it through, but they're very likely, especially Opus, to go into different directions. So yes, I do still read code. I even still do write better DevOps than Opus in certain cases, because it will.
So Nistan, you're on the Z spectrum. I will just mention, for the first time ever, we have a live poll, folks, and you can hit 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the comments. And supposedly this will update. I haven't tested this, so please let's test. I would love to hear where you are on the ZL Continuum. Yam is going to take the other side, I believe.
No,
Yam, have you read any?
Actually,
Ooh.
you must read the code, man.
You must read the code. You're also on the Z.
Yeah. Look. The thing is very simple. If you are building a one-off thing that you need for a specific thing, no problem. But the thing is that if you are reading, if you're building a very large project, the thing is that those things, it's not only about the quality of the code. They add like hidden features all the time that they just assume that you want, because in general many people would want. For example, a very simple example is just, I don't know, a truncation of prompts. Like you build an app that sends a prompt to an AI or something, and then they just do it on the fly without even telling you. The truncation of the prompt, like cutting it in the middle, so it won't bloat the context. I didn't ask you not to bloat the context. The context is much longer than what you know from your training. So you see them like truncating the context at like 8K or something. Bro, we have 200 today. So the thing is that those things accumulate. At the beginning, you don't feel that they accumulate because the app works just like you told it to. But the agents, the next agent is coming and it sees that, and the agent doesn't know that it's a completely new thing that shouldn't be there in the first place. The agent thinks, oh, that's what the human wanted. So I need to maintain this new feature, and then they don't delete the features because they think that you wrote them. They don't want to remove your features. And these things accumulate. You get to a point, I'm just fast forward. At the end, you get to a point where the agents just can't do anything because they try to go through and like through everything that shouldn't be there in the first place. And you see them, everyone gets to the point where in every vibe coding app, the agents stop working. Like the agent just can't advance and make the app just nothing that you tell them seems to be working. Something happened. This is what happened. The code is filled with things that shouldn't be there in the first place, and everything becomes hard. Yeah. And moreover, it's even harder for a human, much harder for a human. So you end up with code that not the AI and not the humans can review, and you're like, okay, what am I going to do? If you're working on something critical,
And what do you do
look,
then?
In the future, AI is going to do everything. All right, no problem.
Look, just
Let's
very
do
quickly.
review.
Guys, I want to hear from LDJ and Wolfram as well. I think other folks, but listen, one comment and let's go.
You end up with much better tests when you read the code and you talk to Claude. You end up writing much better tests, and that is going to keep the app way tighter when you go further ahead.
All righty. Wolfram?
Yeah, I'm not a main developer per se, so basically the AI is probably better in coding than I am. So I've been using scripts and stuff. So I have been creating projects, and like my Hermes add-on for Home Assistant, I'm using it myself. I gently engineered it, and I spent hours talking to the AI. I basically worked like a manager, and that is far to the L side on the graph. Basically, I do look at the code sometimes, but only if you have to decide some stuff. Usually it's just I trust the AI, I tell it what to do, I test it, and my most used command is review. After every change, I run the review command to go through this, and then it finds some more bugs. And Devin is also very, very good as a reviewer. You can use it for free with an open source project, review all the stuff, and I use it constantly. So I have a lot of AI reviewing. I probably spend more time reviewing than actually coding, because that is the part where you turn it into actually workable projects.
I want to hear from LDJ, but I also want to tell you guys that somebody commented on the post that I did on this and said that, hey, the real thing is the ZL Continuum is not per person. It's per task, and for critical task you should absolutely read the code, and for YOLO tasks, and kind of that's what I'm kind of like alluded to here as well. LDJ, I want to hear from you. Do you read agents' code output?
So it depends. So for me, I've been getting increasingly more into things like a front end, but historically I've never really been a front end guy. I hardly know like things in React and TypeScript and things like that. And AI has allowed me to do a lot of things that I've been thinking about in my head for a while, but now I actually do those in a reasonable amount of time. But a lot of this is like kind of basic CRUD apps and dashboards and things like Niston was saying that you can get by without looking at the code. I still try to skim at least like the diffs. And even though I'm not too familiar in React and TypeScript, I'm able to like read what it's doing and get an idea of what it's doing and try to guide it if I see it going down a certain path of something that I don't want it to. But I think we're definitely going to head more towards L here and as things go on, and as even just as you guys and all of us end up increasing our palette of the languages and abstractions that we start to dive into that we're not actually traditionally familiar with.
Yeah, the more you build, the less you kind of like can even judge the code. All right, folks, some folks commented, looks like we have a 50-50 between spot check, the diffs, and IDE. What is IDE? I will run, while you guys comment, thank you for commenting, Crazy Tom, I will run through the kind of the main themes of AI Engineer, because we were at the show, but we weren't able to cover this, and I think that those are very interesting for 2026. So here's the top 10 themes, trends that I've noticed at the AI Engineer Summit of last week. Let's go from number 1. Folks, we told you about this on the show. Nobody's sleeping well. We all seem to have AI psychosis and a new thing called FOMAT. Fear of missing agent time. Before we go to sleep, or as we're about to leave the computer, somebody, Michael Richmond on the show, they identified this as FOMAT, fear of missing agent time. That we're like all so stressed that the agent will not run when we leave the computer or we go to sleep, that we're now working really, really hard to like get that to that point. So everybody in the audience has FOMAT. I asked this, I got to MC, I asked this question on stage, everybody raised their hand. I'm 100% sure that most of us here have some version of FOMAT as well. Yeah, you seem very nodding along. I'm sure you have it as well. Folks, the FOMAT is a real thing that we have identified, and many people here have.
Raise your hand if your agent is working for you right now.
Raise your hand if you have an agent working for you right now. I think mine is paused. I think, like, I'm sure that something is happening. Number 2, there's actually low popolo continuum. That's, as we talked about, on the one side, people are saying, hey, slow the fuck down. There's too many bugs. Read every line of critical code. On the other side, there's talking billionaires and saying code is a liability and we shouldn't even look at code. We shouldn't care. We should invest in harnesses and tests and evals and a bunch of other stuff. This has been the number one question that I've asked multiple people. Are you still looking at code in there? Number 3, everything is changing super, super fast. If you tune into ThursdAI, you know this. Like, you know this 100%. If everything is changing really fast and IDEs are dying. IDEs, as they were before, integrated development environments for you to write code, are dying. GitHub is seeing unprecedented growth, unprecedented traffic levels, 15x their biggest year, which was last year with 1 billion pull requests. GitHub is on track to see 15 billion pull requests this year. 15x of the previous year. So is Cloudflare. So is Vercel. Vercel is seeing 60% of their traffic attributed to agents. Software can think now. OpenClaws and Hermeses can change themselves. Lead code is absolutely dead. And interviewing is nearly impossible. Nobody knows how to interview people anymore. They're all like, hey, they're going to use Cloud Code. An AI engineer is now a PM or an agent babysitter or a taste setter. You choose one that applies to you, and it's going to accelerate. This is what we're talking about. But this is the next one, is we're still early. We're still early. Can you believe that, like, after all this, we're still early? At least in the EU, many engineers and enterprises are hesitant to use AI fully. Specifically in the EU, there's a bunch of regulation, privacy concerns, and general unease about AI. Many people don't like it. There's a lot of software engineers, and not all are AI engineers yet. This is an outcome of our chat with Swix. Not all engineers are AI engineers yet, and nobody knows what's coming for software engineers and how our role changes. This is definitely a very strong outcome of the event. Another one is AGI is nearly here, and it's not evenly distributed. Everybody at that conference, we're talking about Cloud Mythos, and whether it's too dangerous to release and going to be a Y2K level cybersecurity event, or is Anthropic actually doing a bunch of very smart marketing pre-IPO and just don't have enough GPUs to release the Cloud Mythos to everyone. One of the highlights is just talk to your just talk to your clanker. I've chatted with Vincent Koch and Sally Ann, the both maintainers of OpenClaw, and both of them say, hey, many people just ask them how to do stuff, and the one feedback that they have is that software is intelligent right now. You can talk to your software to fix your software. Me and Wolfram has been doing this for a long time, and we've been telling you as well. Many people text me like, hey, Alex, in OpenClaw, how to do this, or in Hermes, how to do this, and I was like, ask your clanker. Just literally, you need to switch to a mode of understanding that your software is intelligent. And once you do, it's going to be much easier for you to operate. It's self-improving as well. You can write stuff for yourself. MCP is dead. Long live MCP. This has been a great outtake. Everybody's like, we're putting MCP to death and like burying MCP. Some people actually had vigils and stuff. But enterprises are done with MCP, and MCP apps faster than ever. If you guys remember, we had Liad Yosef and Ido Salomon on the show, the creators of MCP UI, that turns into this MCP apps protocol, and they've been at the show as well. Many enterprises adopt MCP specifically because with code mode, MCP are not as strong a hit on the context window as previously thought. But also, MCPs are more secure than skills. Just very simply, MCPs are more secure than skills. You can authenticate. You can know which code runs where. The code does not run on your computer is the most important part. The MCP code runs somewhere else. So MCP is not dead, and it's great to see the adoption of MCP still. The last point, we talked about this on the show multiple times. AI was supposed to make us all more productive. Instead, we all just work more. Everyone who I talk to barely sleeps. And it's very surprising to me because we're supposed to offload a bunch of work. We're just like, now we're just expected to do 10x output in many companies, including docs and tests and internalization and everything on your own. And this is a very interesting outcome of this AI revolution. Everybody was supposed to work less, but we're supposed to work more. The last one is I added this, and I ran this as a framework by everyone. I call this the MHC framework. Look out for a write-up on me on this. Model Harness Context. Model Harness Context is the new ASL. I kind of want to bring this last piece here. I don't think that these are the three components of an agentic system that will not change going forward. Model Harness Context. And the thing is, it's like ASL. For those of you who are old as me who remember MIRC, and when you're chatting to somebody new online and you would say, hey, ASL, age, sex, location. You needed to know these three things about the person you're talking to. With the agents, I want to know MHC, Model Harness Context. When somebody tells me, hey, OpenClaw is stupid, I have no idea how to react to this until they tell me if they use OpenClaw with Opus 4.7 or MiniMax 2.7. If they're saying Opus is stupid, I want to know which harness they're running this on and what context and skills they have, right? So MHC is the new thing, and we have people who know what I'm talking about ASL. Model harness context is also something that will not go away. In a year, we'll still have models that are improving. Intelligence is improving. Harnesses will continue to improve. I don't think harnesses will go away, and context is very important for your personality, memory, etc. This is the main outcomes of AI Engineer. I think we'll move on. Less comments, folks, and we can move on because we have a few folks coming soon. Random, unrelated comment, Nistan, go.
Yeah, I randomly took a picture of my spice rack as I was putting rice in the slow cooker last night. And then I asked, what's something strange to put in that would go very well? It said bay leaves. You can put bay leaves in rice. Okay, all right. It said don't put any oregano or stuff. And it had a whole theory about like the taste matching. So I put bay leaves in rice. It was amazing. It turned out perfect. I just put, yeah. Anyway, so try using it while cooking and asking for strange recommendations and to think it through in terms like a chef would.
Listen, MHC. Who did you ask and which harness and what context did you provide? This is you have to MHC.
Just Opus 4.6 on the app with voice. That's
nice. Okay. All right, folks. I think time to move on because a bunch of other stuff that we have to check. We're going to chat with Quindla Kramer, the creator of Gradient Bank. Before this, though, I really want to take a pause and show you this absolutely insane thing. I know this is kind of like not what people maybe expect from ThursdAI, and Opus just released. Maybe you guys want to hear about Opus. I have to show you this. I absolutely have to show you this. Can you hear this?
I told you the laws of physics were literally being destroyed.
I'd say you were going crazy.
Maybe I am crazy.
Yeah, we could hear it.
This was supposed to be our timeline.
And somehow we ended up over here. This isn't a glitch. Let it go. I'm gonna need someone who isn't afraid of risk. Fry! Listen to me very carefully.
I'm gonna get you out.
So scientists are now saying that there are a series of baffling incidents that appear to defy the known laws of physics.
The math doesn't add up anymore, which means someone, something is changing the math.
It's like they built a backdoor into the universe.
Uh-oh.
Hello, Neil. Time to divide everything by 0. Ha 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 ha.
Neil, we're gonna die! Let me think, motherfucker. Oh, shit.
Stop them. They're getting away.
To be honest, this whole theory sounds pretty out there. You really shouldn't have called me, Neil. You don't understand. He's collapsing the goddamn multiverse. I'm not going back, Neil!
Send in the fucking drones.
So it was all a big fat lie! I thought I told you to shut him down.
Jensen?
It's not what you think.
I have so many questions.
So good.
So many questions.
I hope that you guys, first of all, appreciated how far we are in the world of AI video, because when I showed this to fiance, she's like, and she does AI video. Like we test all the clings and everything. At the middle, she's like, she doesn't know like Neil deGrasse Tyson probably. She's like, is this AI? In the middle of this, it's insane how far we've gotten. It's insane. We showed you video of barely moving pictures. We just, yeah, the number of the Nutella floating in space from the space station thing. There's like so many references. Like I'll add this to the show notes so you guys can look. Yeah, one last question. We have to move on to.
Bruh, that's the craziest video. Seriously,
this is the craziest video.
There's no competition. That's the craziest video I've seen. That's great. The thing is great. Seriously,
I hope that
that's what do we know about this? That's not one shot, just to be clear.
No. This is a whole like production thing that AI or Die added, and we'll add the links to the actual official thing. Folks, it's time for us to move on because it has been an hour and something on the show, and now we have our first guest of today. We're gonna say hey to Trevor Mons from Marimo. Hey, Trevor, welcome to the show. Your first time here. Folks, a founding engineer at Marimo. Folks, I will do an interview with Trevor. I'll drop you back. Feel free to like ask questions, and then I'll pull you back. Okay. Righty, as we gonna take off here. Wolfram, you're welcome to stay because you're part of the team. Folks, this is this week's VOZ where we tell you about everything that's related to weights and biases and core. Let's go. And core weave. And core weave also. I had to add this because I recorded this way before CoreWeave acquisition of weights and biases, and now I have to kind of add weights and biases from CoreWeave. Trevor, welcome to the show. Your first time here. Great to have you. We are bringing you here because, like weights and biases, Marimo is also part of CoreWeave now, and would love for you as a founding engineer to tell us briefly about Marimo, but also you guys exploded in Hacker News this week. We'd love to hear about that as well. I think it's super cool. And just so you know, like who listens to it, the audience is some AI engineers, some folks who maybe know what Marimo is, some folks train models and fine-tune models and do Python stuff as well. But we would love to hear from you. I think we talked about Marimo back at the acquisition. Here you go, man. Trevor, welcome.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Trevor. I'm one of the engineers at Marimo. And yeah, for folks who haven't heard about Marimo, we're a new kind of Python notebook. I guess we've been around for a little bit now, and but we're spiritually similar to Jupyter notebooks. But we offer like a lot of superpowers for working with Python and doing data work with Python. And Marimo notebooks are what are called a reactive Python notebook. So behind the scenes, we understand how your cells relate to one another. And so we basically provide the guarantee that as you're working and performing your analysis or inspecting your notebooks, you're building up some sort of artifact that's reproducible from a perspective of once you've finished your session, you can come back and you can reload the notebook and get going again. And we also are very hyper-focused on the Python ecosystem. So we offer a lot of integrations around like having nice formatters for your tables, nice UI elements. We integrate with package managers. And yeah, this last week, we've also been working a lot on how do we make Marimo play very nicely with AI coding tools and agents. And that is why we took off last week on Hacker News.
Yeah, so I would love to hear about this, but just before this, I have a question for you. You're a senior engineer, founding engineer at Marimo. You write code for a living, but also you work with agents. Previously, before you joined the show, we talked about the ZL Continuum. If you're not familiar, this is an essay I posted after visiting the AI Engineer Europe conference last week, where most of the people there are battling with the question of whether or not they still read code that the agents output. So on the one side, you have the read every line of code of the spectrum. On the other side, you have somebody like Ryan Lopopolo from OpenAI that says, hey, code is a liability. Where would you place yourself on the spectrum? Do you still read agent outputs as code, or do you kind of like YOLO all the way and just like let it rip? If you answer with this depends, I will say that I will not accept this answer because this is the standard kind of like software engineer, senior. Yeah. It depends. No, I need an actual answer.
So I'm on the spectrum, and I think I am slowly getting more towards where I review less code. I still review a lot of code manually, but within the last like few months, it feels like years in this timeline, but within the last months, I feel like my job has shifted a lot to trying to build systems that I can have the AI tools verify their results and correctness of the programs. And so trying to shift some of the burden of review onto just having better systems. And it's funny because it extends from just practices that were generally good for software engineering, like testing, good documentation, but just trying to build better systems such that when I do let the AI quote unquote rip, I can be more confident that what it's done is correct. So I don't know exactly where I am on this continuum, but I know what an IDE is. So
I think the point here is that IDE is slowly dying. We're going to talk about Warp, the terminal. We're also going to talk about Windsurf joining Devin, and we have Theodor from Windsurf joining us as they kind of like go through this iteration like Cursor did, like everybody other IDEs, like, okay, agents, maybe people don't need to look at code anymore. In that world, how does interactive notebooks fare? Tell us about the iteration of the interactive notebooks in the world of agents are doing some stuff. I think that this is what you went viral about with like pairing with agents on the interactive notebooks. Tell us about the difficulties and also how do we evolve in that world?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as I started using these tools for my sort of like traditional software engineering role, they've completely transformed the ways that I'm doing software engineering. But I think that data work and like these long-lived sessions that you'd perform inside of a Jupyter notebook or a Marimo notebook traditionally, of working with your data and trying to figure out the next step of what you're going to do in your analysis, like these don't fit like the tools that typically are there for traditional software development. Like just out of the box, like an agent is a model, a tool, a set of tools, and the loop, right? That's like the definition of an agent. And I think the tools that they get out of the box are the ability to read, write, and edit files and execute bash scripts. And we have different tools for doing data work, which are notebooks. And historically, like these tools have been not accessible to agents. So with the tools that agents have, they would just, if you put them on a data task, everything is going to look like a nail. And so they're going to like use the tools that they have, which are read, write, execute code. And you might be left with a huge folder of stuff. And it might have gotten somewhere really interesting in analysis, but it's really hard to use that artifact and share it with someone and make that reproducible. And so, yeah, the work that we've been doing is trying to think, how do we give notebooks as a tool for agents to be able to use it really as a scaffold for performing these long-lived data tasks? And we're operating on the ethos that like notebooks have been like invaluable to humans for doing this type of work. And maybe we just need to have better tools to give to the agents to do that kind of work as well.
There's a piece of lore where Alec Radford, one of the creators of GPT, was notorious in like doing everything in a notebook. And they're just handing it off to ML engineers to kind of like productize, but like everything, this whole state, like all of the genius of Alex Radford was like codified in a notebook. And I absolutely agree. I think like the file state is something else, but like stateful execution. Could I put you on the spot and show us a quick demo? Would that be cool?
Yeah, I can try. I can share my screen. And
because I think that like since the acquisition of Marimo, I don't know if folks like seen what Marimo specifically is on ThursdAI. I would love to show them.
Yeah, cool. So this I'm just running a Marimo notebook here. You can see it looks like your standard computational notebook. You can create cells. I can say x equals 10, and I can run that cell. I can print a cell, x. Yeah, zooming out, like how Marimo works is that we understand the relationships between your cells. So if I do something here where I change this cell to be a much larger number, like 10,000, I want you to watch this cell down below. If I press play, this cell runs automatically. And that's because Marimo understands that this cell down here is dependent on the cell above. And that's what we call reactive execution. And where this starts to get really interesting is that Marimo is not only a library or is not only like a notebook, but it's also a set of like UI elements. So I can do something like mo.ui.slider. And if I make a slider here, let me change this. If I make a slider and I run this, you can see I have this like nice UI element here. But this, because we are reactive, we can actually take the value of that slider. So I can say x is actually equal to slider.value. And now this all wires up to this reactivity. So as I move, you can see that this cell below is running, and they are all chained together. It's really this environment that allows you to play a lot with your data, because you both can mix the ability to write code and execute cells, but also extend it with these custom interactive elements. So what we really want is to be able to provide agents the access to do everything that you can do in a Marimo notebook as well. I'm just going to clear up some of these cells that I just made below. And in this notebook, I've loaded this data frame, which is from the it's a art data set from the National Gallery of Art. And I'm going to actually pull this over here so you can see that I have this Claude code session connected. And I can just tell Claude to pair with me on this notebook and start doing stuff on my behalf. So I can say, so I have Claude Code opened here, and I'm currently pairing on a session where now Claude is effectively living inside of my notebook environment. So I can say something like, can you add a cell at the bottom and say hi from Claude? So
while this runs, I'll just call out that this is effectively achieved via skill and then things that you've built into Marimo to like work this. And the skill is installed with just NPX skills. So I'm going to put this on here. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So Marimo pair is a skill that teaches your agent how to programmatically control Marimo and run inside Marimo. So you can see that it just added this markdown cell for me that says hi from Claude.
Oh, nice.
But because it's living inside of this session, I can also ask the agent to start testing code on my behalf, or maybe do something for me. So I can say, can you plot the embedding of these images using Jupyter Scatter, color by type, get the selection with mode.state. So Claude can go off and try to inspect the packages that I have installed in my environment. And then...
And mode.state is a specific UI element.
This is a
within
specific, yes, specific to Marimo. Let's see.
that now Claude is knows because of the skill and everything. Yeah. That's great.
Yes. So what we can see is it's inspecting the data frame that I have. It's also looking at the packages that I have. So it's running these little snippets of code in the kernel to understand and gather more context about what it's going to do. And then once it comes up with a plan and something that works, it's going to then use the APIs that we have inside of Marimo to add some cells on my behalf. So maybe I have to go in and edit this just slightly. But it's created this little widget for me that as I select some cells here, we can see that we'll get an updated selection of the different cells. And this is an art image embedding of these data. So and they're colored by, so I made this embedding based off of their thumbnails, and they're colored by the different artwork types. And what's cool is that inside of this, in this notebook, this is a widget. So I've made this selection here, and then I can get this selection back out in the notebook. And the selection is represented as just the indices into this data frame. But because Claude is in this environment, it can actually see what I have selected here as well. So I can say something like, can you, like, I selected a cluster. I'm not sure what it is. Can you tell me about it? And because the agent is like living in this session, it's able to use these selection here to then cross-reference with the data frame and kind of run any Python code that it wants to try to help me understand this information. So it says that cluster is overwhelmingly Robert Frank's photographs. These are mostly contact sheets. And it's just this play that I think that having these agents like living inside the notebook environment, that it can now run some of the type of scratchpad work that I would do inside a notebook, but I can prompt my way to help me understand like some phenomena as I'm trying to understand it.
I think it's very cool. I think that working or co-working with an agent kind of beats working on your own, or also just letting agent rip. And visually seeing this in Marimo in the stateful like representation, I think it's super cool. My last question for you, Trevor, and we have another guest, but like I would love to like hear from you. First of all, folks, if you haven't used Marimo, give Marimo a go. It's a great stateful notebook. If you are using Marimo, you don't know how to install this, npx skills add Marimo team Marimo. I have a kind of like auto distribution question for you. Why skill and not like an MCP, for example?
Yeah, it's a great question. We started as a skill because the models are very good at, the models are very good at writing just if you give them a bash command that they can run, like they are pretty good at it. Like I mentioned, the tools that are available from before. However, what's interesting maybe behind the scenes about how we've implemented code mode or this interface with Marimo is that it doesn't necessarily have to be over a skill as well. So we are working on an MCP version of this that is supposed to be paired with where if you look at the skill today, you can either be running it as a CLI or you can be running it as an MCP. So it's more that we have a very small tool surface area, and in one case it's a bash script, and the other one it might be an MCP tool call. And we're thinking about how we can expose that through different ergonomics, for if you're using it in Claude Terminal, like Claude Code like this, but if you're using like Claude Desktop, maybe an MCP might be a better fit there. And that's like the direction that we're trying to go with some of this.
I got you. That's a great answer. Trevor, thank you so much for joining us. One last question. One favorite feature of Marimo that folks absolutely have to know about that is a sleeper feature.
Oh, honestly, I think there's been a lot of care that has gone into, if you're trying to look at some, understand some piece of information that's inside the notebook, like we probably have a very opinionated formatter for it. So for instance, a very classic data form type is like a data frame. And the moment, like that's often like the killer feature when folks like first use Marimo for the first time, they're like, wow, these tables are really nice. And so I think maybe it's an oldie, but like a goodie. It's a really good integration.
That's great, man. Thank you so much for joining, folks. Trevor Mans from Marimo. Please give Marimo a try. Marimo Pair is now a way for you to put your agent inside the Marimo and like keep the stateful information inside the Marimo notebook while your agent, maybe you clear some context as well. Trevor, thank you so much for joining. We'll send folks all the information in the show. You're welcome to come back once you guys do some more incredible stuff with Marimo. Thank you, man.
Great. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Cheers. All right, folks. Now we're turning our attention into voice with our friend of the pod, longtime friend of the pod, Qwen Lahadman-Kamer. Qwen, welcome to the show. It's always great to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm great. I had a power outage. I had to reboot everything. Very modern problem, but
Nice.
I think everything's working again.
This happened to me while running the live show once. Like very luckily, the folks were able to carry this. But it's fine. It's great to have you here, co-founder and co-CEO of. Is that correct? Did I remember this correct?
In practice, absolutely.
Yes. Of Pipecat, sorry, of Daily, and maintainer of Pipecat, the open source model. Pipecat Wrangler is the title that you chose for yourself for today. Qwen, before we start with the awesome release that you have and why I got you here, I do want to cover the kind of the voice and audio segment as well, as you've been graciously one of our experts in that field with us. I want to talk about the Google's Gemini 3.1 Flash TTS release, folks. Gemini just dropped a text-to-speech. It's called Gemini 3.1 Flash TTS with audio tags, scene direction, and 70 plus language support. It's the second one on artificial analysis text-to-speech, just behind in-world TTS, but I'm pretty sure that it's faster than in-world TTS. It's definitely cheaper than 11 Labs, almost 5 times as cheaper as 11 Labs. And I think the coolest thing about this, we should probably play a sample because TTS is definitely a sample thing. So let me pull this up while we chat with Qwen. Qwen, do you have any thoughts on this model off the bat?
Yeah, it sounds great. And there's a whole lot of interesting stuff happening in the speech generation world. We've covered together some super tiny models, including like a couple of students out of Korea that made an amazing model. And
Yes.
these foundation lab models. The thing that's happening is like this traditional voice generation architecture is moving to be more like the big LLMs. And you can see that in this model because you can prompt it. You don't just give it a string of text, you give it a whole prompt. The challenge is we got to figure out how to make these steerable TTS models not do things you don't expect, not hallucinate. If you do a bunch of testing with all the steerable TTS models, including this one, they will do things occasionally like leave out words or slightly change what you told them to output, which is great if you think of them like an LLM as a non-deterministic like system. It's a problem for a bunch of use cases though. So test these kind of models really heavily. Make sure you pick a model that fits what your use case is, because this stuff, like everything in AI, is changing every quarter.
I'm adding a few kind of like tags, and as I think we showed you previously with in-world, these tags are not locked in place. Previously, like Qwen said, like these tags were like built into the model. There was like 5 tags, emotion tags. Here, because these models are like intelligent, you can put up pretty much anything you can think of in tags. Let's try this out. I'm gonna add shocked, who came to ThursdAI, and whispering everyone. Let's see if this works. We're gonna. Oh, this is. I don't know. I don't know this UI. Let me. Okay, I need to run. Okay, there we go. Hopefully, you guys can hear this. It's kind of slow.
Who came to ThursdAI this week? Everyone.
That was great. That is exactly what I wanted. The whispering. She said ThursdAI perfectly, and like in shocked motion. That was great. I love this. Have you had a chance to play with this more within the ecosystem of the stuff that you're building?
Yeah, and it is really, really good. It's great for the batch stuff. As you saw, it's a little bit slow. It's like 3 seconds time to first token. So you can't use this model yet for real-time conversation. But if you have batch mode stuff, especially if like literal word accuracy is not critical for your use case, it really is a step forward. To be fair, OpenAI has a model that has a similar architecture. There are more models coming that are fully steerable, but this one's really, really impressive.
That was impressive. Speaking of impressive things, Qwen, this week you finally launched something you told me about back in, I want to say December, November, something like this.
Yeah.
We talked about
it
this.
It was a side project. I wasn't like really working on it. It's a side project that broke containment.
You guys can already hear the music or not, but like this is Gradient Bang. I want you to tell us about this while I pull this up.
Can I share my screen? I want to tell the story. All right.
Yes, yeah. Let me pause my sharing and please share your screen.
Here we go. So when I was a baby programmer, is that working? One of my formative experiences was playing these early internet BBS door games on a 386DX computer that had ports like this. Anybody remember like serial ports, parallel ports?
Yeah.
I would plug in the modem, you'd hear the modem sounds, you'd dial up, And one of the games that was really formative for me was this thing called Trade Wars, which was a multiplayer but totally text mode game that looked like this. Super sophisticated, ANSI, 16 colors. We thought it was like cutting edge. And you typed at this interface. So it's like Back to the Future in our TUI era. I've been thinking about this all the time. But it was super extensible because it's running on a computer, right? So people built like their own mapping interfaces and then Windows interfaces that wrapped the TUI and gave you all this crazy stuff. And I just can't get Trade Wars out of my head because it was such a formative experience for me. So when I told you about this in December, I was like, what if Trade Wars, but the ship computer were an LLM? And that was the roots of this thing. I just wanted to play this game with my friends that I kind of remembered, but I wanted to do it with a Star Trek type ship I could talk to. So maybe we should play like 10 seconds of the video.
Yes.
Welcome to the Gradient Bang universe. I'm your friendly ship AI, ready to explore and trade with you.
We need to recharge warp fuel. Can you take me back to a megaport?
Affirmative, Commander. The nearest megaport is in Sector 172, about 6 hops away. Shall I plot a course and recharge your warp power there?
Yes, and do some trading along the way if you can. Hey, what'd you buy for me?
I bought 30 units of retro organics for 240 credits.
Why do they call them retro organics?
They're a blast from the past in a good way. I imagine they taste like nostalgia. Great news. Chester's Trading Conglomerate has been founded. Hey, excellent. We've successfully acquired an autonomous probe and christened it Raptor.
Tell the Eagle to do 5 trade loops and then tell the Hawk and the Raptor both to do 5 explorations.
Eagle is on 5 trade loops. Hawk and Raptor are on 5 exploration loops each. Your fleet is busy.
While I'm doing that, let's go to 448 and trade along the way.
So as you can tell, this thing got totally out of hand. Like I hacked together this game, we started playing it, and then it became clear really quickly that like a lot of things in voice AI, all these problems we were trying to solve actually are very general. Like how do you build AI native software problems? Like I totally believe that in 5 years, all of our software will have multiple LLMs baked in at every level, running locally, running in the cloud that we call out and use APIs to access kind of everything you can imagine, and stuff we can't imagine yet is just going to be LLM powered. And so as we kept like Claude and Codexing on this game and adding stuff, there were all these like super interesting themes. So the first one was managing subagents. Once you have one ship, you want more ships. So we built like corporations, which are teams, so you could buy more ships. And then the game actually becomes tasking the subagents more than just flying your own ship around. So we built a whole architecture for subagents. That actually architecture is now a Pipecat library called Pipecat Subagents, and it's a class like event bus, and it works locally, it works over the network. So we're super excited about that. And then once you have subagents, like you're fundamentally you're managing different models for their strengths. So the voice agent actually runs typically a different model than your subagents. And we have like a fork of Gradient Bang where the subagents all can be routed to different models. And the next thing I want to do is like push that live so that people can run their subagents on their own machines. Like I've got a DGX Spark. I want to run like customized subagents in the cloud game on my DGX Spark. Because like if I can customize my subagent, I can probably catch Alex on the leaderboard. And then like very, very, very long context management. So you join this game, maybe you play 20 minutes a day, maybe your subagents play longer. That is a huge, huge context to manage. And we're all living in that world with like coding agents where we're in Claude and Codex hours and hours a day. They're amazing. They're actually not that great at managing a multi-week context. I now prompt Claude and I'm like, hey, look up those Codex transcripts. What was Codex trying to do over the last 3 days? So we have this long running game, and there's game event history in the whole game that accumulates. So how do you give the LLMs access to that long history? And then because there is a game engine behind it, we're actually sending a ton of structured data into the tasks. So there's this intermixture of like voice input, structured data from the game engine, or the task loop running, structured data from the game engine coming in async. How do you manage that? So we've got a whole like system for that. And then dynamic user interfaces. Like I built a TUI, but as soon as we started playing it, my colleague John was like, "Oh, no. Like if this is an actual game, we have to build an actual game front end." And so he wrote all that amazing React code you just saw in the
It looks incredible. It also has, I don't know if it's 3GS or something, but it has like the actual planets and the warping mechanism. Like all of this is like built in this game. Dude, I love it. It's a side project.
I was like, John, all I care
yeah.
about is the sub agents. All I care about is the sub agents. John was like, no, it's gotta be a game. And a lot of that is just rendered by the LLM, the voice, the UI agent LLM that's running in the server, just throwing JSON over to the client. And that feels like a totally new paradigm. And we're all trying to figure out, okay, what do UIs look like in this LLM world? Part of it is I think the LLM dynamically generates the UI. And then there's a bunch of stuff. So you can see how this side project got out of hand.
That's crazy, dude. I wanted to bring you up because I think the highlights for me, obviously, Pipecat. It's all built and runs on dailies because it's all super duper fast. The transcription there, since last you showed me like in the beginning, like it's nearly perfect. It's still not perfect, so it's great that like I can see what it understood, because sometimes I would say something or Daria would come in and like say something to her, the game starts like running ships and like, oh, hold on. So that's a very interesting like attempt, but this is a full talk to your LLM game that I haven't like experienced anywhere else so far. I need folks to understand like what's going on. You load Gradient Bang on and you just talk to your agent. You just talk to your ship. Kind of like in the Hail Mary project, the guy has the rocky kind of alien, but it also has a ship. It wasn't like that highlighted in the movie, but like the ship is like an intelligent ship that you can say, hey, we should go over there, and the ship does the thing. This is the game. It's built with like, incredible voice interface, and obviously coming from you guys, the voice interface is like the top. Can you give us, maybe for a last question, can you give us like a little bit of a technical breakdown of what's going on there? What models are you using? What is the latest models? Are you playing around with different models there? What transcription, which is great. Give us a little bit of those details because people love to hear those.
Yeah, so we built it so you can use any models for any part of the game. But what the version you're playing online today, and we kind of swapped stuff out, just to experiment. But the version you're playing online today is DeepGram for transcription. So the audio, yeah, it's DeepGram, and it's a great DeepGram model. So the audio goes from your web browser to the Pipecat multi-agent system running in the cloud. DeepGram transcribes it. The text goes to your voice agent. Your voice agent never blocks. So the voice agent is always running, auto-compacting the context, has to respond within 1500 milliseconds or better for it to feel like that tight experience. The voice agent is spawning all these other tasks, and there's a UI agent and a history agent and a couple other things running in parallel that run most of the time when you get a voice trigger, but not all the times. There's some programmatic rules about what runs when, what has enough context to run when. The main voice agent today is GPT-4.1, but we swap it out in a bunch of different contexts, partly so we can get good data about what's working. Because with a few hundred people playing all the time, we have a lot of really good test data here. And then the task agents are a mixture of Gemini and GPT-5.2, depending on which task is running. And we have a whole bunch of benchmarks. In fact, this project spawned a benchmark called GB Benchmarks. We can drop the URL in the show notes, because the task agents themselves are super complicated. And you really want to open-endedly task these other ships you have. You're like, oh, go do this trading run out to this part of the galaxy. Come back when you've made 10,000 credits. So you're trying to get these task agents to just figure stuff out. So it's actually really demanding. So we're running, I think today in prod, we're running GPT-5.2 medium thinking, because you're trying to balance, can it do this open-ended type of stuff that players ask it to do, against every turn in the loop needs to be fairly fast. Otherwise, the game is really boring. So medium level thinking on GPT-5.2, it's actually a sweet spot on our Gradient Bang benchmarks, open source benchmarking.
That's incredible. Last question before we bring Theodor here. You read the ZL Continuum essay that I wrote during this game. Where were you on the ZL Continuum?
So part of my goal for this, since it was a side project, was not to write or read any code.
Let's go.
And so I've been doing that since November, and it's been painful in different ways, but also a great learning process. When John started writing the React code, I was like, John, the rule is we don't write or read any code.
We don't read. Write or read.
Write
Yes.
or read. Like, just talk to the LLM. I think John lasted a day before he was reading the React code, because like he's a great React programmer, and he was just so frustrated that I think he read a lot of code, and I think he wrote some code too. But I'll ask him where he is now, because like the Continuum, we're all moving. None of us are standing in place.
Yep. Speaking of not saying, Qwen, thank you so much for joining us, folks. Definitely check out Gradient Bank. It's so fun. It's really fun to just like talk. At some point yesterday, I'm gonna bring Theodor here as welcome, Theodor. We're gonna announce you in a second.
Hey guys.
When I jumped in Gradient Bank, like after the like recent everything, I realized that at some point I have an agent that does research for ThursdAI. I have an agent that runs coding, and then I have an agent in the game, and I'm like babysitting all these like 3 different kinds of agents. The game one is the first one for me. I'm not aware of any for fun AI agents that are running with sub agent. This is the first one. You guys definitely should check it out. We also have breaking news for Codex, but before this, we're gonna get to Theodor. Qwen, thank you so much for joining us. Feel free, as always, to stick around if you need. If you need to drop, also always good. But I want to I'll move you guys back to stage because I have to chat with Theodor and introduce Theodor. Theodor, welcome. This is your first time on the show. I would love for you to introduce yourself because you haven't been here before. Your colleagues have been, but you haven't. So feel free to tell us who you are and what you do at Cognition.
Hey Alex, great to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah, my name is Theodor. I work at Cognition, where I've been working very closely with the Windsurf team, who deserves a huge shout out. They just had a big launch yesterday with Windsurf 2.0, and I work as a product manager.
And we talked about Windsurf multiple times. We had like multiple folks, I think, from Windsurf. We also started chatting about Devin recently. So we had Nader talk to us about Devin Swix, who's now an advisor, I believe, in Cognition. He's like a fairly frequent visitor to the show. And I think he actually recommended me to talk to you because IDEs are changing. I don't want to say the death word, but like it's also one of the outcomes of the AI engineer world from last week that we went to. People like Qwen, for example, don't even read code, right? Some people managing agents, and the world changes, and you guys have to change with it. And there's been a very interesting thing where like Devin was kind of like this from the beginning, like she fully runs autonomous, etc. And then Windsurf is still like with traditional IDE to some point with Cascade and a bunch of stuff. And now, tell me about now. Where are we now? Why? What did you guys release? What did you work on? Just lay it on me. Like I think folks want to know.
Yeah, this is a great question and one that I'm very excited about. So the way we think about it is that the future of software engineering is managing a team of agents. That's what Cognition started with. That's what Devin is. It's sort of your trusty agent that can run in the cloud and execute end-to-end tasks autonomously. But we think the future of software engineering is actually managing a team of agents that's both remote and local, that can work alongside you. And we've seen this internally. The reality at Cognition is that some of our best engineers are working with dozens of agents at a time. And this is something that we've started seeing, frankly, in the past 6 to 12 months. And what often happens when you manage dozens of agents at a time, both across your IDE for the tasks when you need to be locked in and focused on the craft of software engineering, and it's sort of like the cloud where you have Devin working on a lot of cloud tasks, is you have to switch context a lot. And your attention limit or your attention span becomes the upper limit to how much you can do. And as a result of that, we wanted to build something that helped you basically manage that mess, manage the craziness with like dozens of agents. And that's where we got to Windsurf 2.0. So Windsurf 2.0 launched yesterday. It does 2 things that we are very excited about. It brings the agent command center. So you can think of it as a NASA sort of mission control overview of all your agents. We actually were very thoughtful about designing that. We brought a Kanban board into it. And as Kanban boards are actually, I see you have
I was waiting for you on the show to hit the click restart and see kind of the new interface. It's going to pop up in a second.
Nice.
Yeah, please go ahead.
But yeah, you have the Kanban board. As like if you're managing and doing any project management, you need a Kanban board to look over all your tasks. And we think that's like a great way to show all your agents working on your projects. We brought spaces so that you can easily switch between working on. So oftentimes a lot of tasks will have multiple agents in them. You can easily switch between multiple tasks. And then let's say I have a onboarding redesign space. And in that space, I have a local agent that I'm pairing with to plan some work and understand the code base. I have 2 cloud agents that are building the API routes and updating the docs. And yeah, with Windsurf, and then the most important thing with Windsurf 2.0 is we're bringing Devin to the cloud agent to Windsurf. And the reality is, and I was trying to make this point yesterday, local agents and cloud agents, a lot of people like bucket them the same. But the reality is like they're very different, both from a UX perspective and capabilities perspective. When you're working with a local agent, you expect it to be a very good pair programmer who can wait for you at every turn and can sort of like think about you can sort of like use it to think about what's in the code, how to plan it, how to build the architecture of what you're doing. And then with the cloud agent, you expect it to work end to end. You expect it to finish its task. So with Windsurf 2.0, we're bringing these two worlds together, and engineers can now go between them seamlessly.
I have to talk to about the Devin integration because I think people who haven't tried Devin since like the original release, and like maybe they were priced off of the original release. I think it was $500 a month for many folks. Didn't realize how fast. Sorry, no, didn't realize how exact the stack that Devin built back then now fits the current world of agents. Our co-host Ryan Carson, who's not here, he's just like he switched completely. He used everything locally coded, whatever. Now he's like, oh, Devin does like most of the work for me. Bringing Devin locally, what does that mean? Like, is Devin, can I just like hang off tasks? What about environment? I have, I don't know, NPM running forever on my like local machine. Can you talk to me about like what the difficulties of bringing like a cloud agent locally? What does it mean? It's just like triggering Devin from local, or it can actually work on my computer? Is Devin local now? Like, tell me where we are.
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, like you said, Devin has been sort of ahead of the at least from an ambition, but ahead of like, it's been really trying to achieve that end state, that end goal of being the autonomous end-to-end engineer from the beginning. And when we built Windsurf 2.0, we thought a lot about that question. And that's a question I think we're going to be thinking about and working on for a very long time. The first step that we wanted to achieve was actually building in the actual Devin integration, where you could see all your Devin sessions and send tasks to Devin locally. You could see Devin's desktop locally inside Windsurf, which is very, very exciting for me, at least, because oftentimes I will be working on Windsurf actually. And when I work on Windsurf, I want Devin to be able to test its own work. And one of the best parts of Devin is that it has its own desktop, and its own Linux desktop with an actual UI that it can use computer use and click around and test its work, and then send me screenshots and video recordings. So that's one. The second phase, and that's something that we built with Windsurf 2.0, is this idea of being able to plan locally and implement in the cloud. And I think that's one of the most underrated parts of Windsurf 2.0. One thing that we often notice internally with engineers, and some of our best engineers, is that whenever they have a really hard task where they are going deep in the code base and they're trying to understand things that maybe they haven't written yet, local agents are still great, because you can kind of like use this, what I call Socratic method of working with an agent, where you're like going back and forth with questions, challenging assumptions, trying to understand different subsystems, etc. And once you are in a great spot, we have understood all of that, you have all of the context formed in that conversation, you have maybe a plan of what you want to do. Oftentimes it's just execution, and it's testing, and it's making sure that CI passes, it's making sure that you find the bugs. And we wanted to make sure that we built that handoff moment. And that's one really exciting part of Windsurf 2.0. In terms of other things, we are, I think we're cooking. We have a lot of things that are sort of like the top of mind for us. You mentioned local computer use. I think that's something that's very interesting. I think you can go take it further with managing fleets of Devin. We had a launch a couple of weeks ago where Devin is managing multiple Devins and sub Devins, and you can schedule them remotely. Scott always talks about how
I love it.
Yeah, I think one interesting stat that I can share is that since those two launches, since we launched Managed Devins and Scheduled Devins, I think our internal usage has doubled. And I think that the interesting thing that Scott always talks about is how the future is in many ways going to be event-driven use cases as well, alongside sort of like the humans who write software and who are loving engineering, and now they can focus on doing more of what they want. But there's going to be a lot of this sort of like event-driven use cases, and a lot of agents creating agents and spawning agents. And I think we're thinking about how can we make Windsurf 2.0, how we can make the agent command center the sort of most powerful mission control for those engineers. It's truly a golden age for engineering right now, because you can have something like Windsurf 2.0 that lets you just be in the flow, focus on the tasks, or honestly on building the things that you like building most. Like one thing that is interesting is some of the best CEOs in the world right now, Mark Zuckerberg, people like Sergey, they're
yes.
to coding. And they're really like agents have reduced those barriers to writing to writing code and like getting back in the code base. And
you know what else they reduced? And apparently you guys mentioned this as well, is how much everybody sleeps. Like I read some tidbit there that some folks in Cognition cannot go to sleep without like kicking off thing. At the beginning of the show, you weren't here with us. I recapped the AI engineer thing. One of the most insightful talks there was a talk from Michael Richman called FOMAT, Fear of Missing Agent Time. Maybe it's the last question because we're almost at the end of the show. Would love to hear from you how like super AI pilled like Devin, like Cognition engineers are like dealing with the fact that like, oh, if you're not running Devin overnight, like, you're achieving way less.
No, that's very true. I think that is very true. A lot of folks on the team cannot go to sleep without starting at least a bunch of Devin sessions, sometimes multiple per task, so that they can compare them in the morning. You have your morning coffee and your last night agent runs, and you can see what's done and where you can start off. I think it's a phenomenal thing. One, like I said, it's a golden age for software engineering and for the craft of software engineering. You can focus on the things that you love, and you can spend less time on the things that you don't. And then being able to, like one thing that was a problem before we had agents, frankly, was that being able to start on a project again after you broke focus. Paul Graham would talk about this in his essays. You needed to have builder time because you had to maintain focus, because once you lost focus, it's very hard to regain it. With something like our engineers starting like dozens of agents at a time before they go to sleep, when they wake up, they can have their morning coffee and they can just sort of like jump right in. So it's such a fantastic time to be a software engineer right now, where you can just like constantly keep going and it's very exciting.
That's awesome. Theodor, thank you so much for joining us. We have breaking news. I'm going to bring up back folks as we have breaking news, Theodor. Thank you for joining. Folks, check out the new command center, agent command center within the space between Devin and Windsurf now. And I think it's absolutely great. But I think we have, let me add LDJ here, we have breaking news because this is a ThursdAI show. AI breaking news coming at you only on ThursdAI. Who wants to take this one while I pull this up? Folks, OpenAI has shipped something, and people told us in the comments.
Just dropped a lot of things.
Yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Dropped a lot of things, a lot of a new package of, I don't know, presents, of gifts for Codex, for the Codex app. Let's just go through it. Okay, I mean, yeah, I can see with the glasses. All right, let's, we got computer use and a bunch of. One moment, I'll tell you exactly what the other stuff is.
So we have, is this within Codex, the computer use thing?
Yeah.
So OpenAI now, ChatGPT can use my computer. Oh, lovely. Computer environment screenshot, Qwen model will do a tool call, do application code, and do clicks. That's very nice of them. But I don't see anything.
Okay. From what I understand, first we got computer use, in-app browser, image generation and editing, 90 plus new plugins that connect.
Wait, image generation launched? What?
Wait, I'm just reading out. That's direct quote from Thibaut. Multi-terminal, SSH into dev boxes, thread automations, rich document editing, and learning from experience and proactively suggestion of work. Okay. That's just, I just want to make sure, are we talking about the UI for ChatGPT or the Codex app?
It looks like the Codex app, right? Play some launch music on Spotify. Okay.
Major update to Codex. Yeah, 100%. We are releasing a major update to Codex and making it more powerful partner for more than 3 million developers who use it every week. All right.
Let's hit this update button, folks. I'm going to pull this in here.
Cool.
Okay. I'm going to put this in here and show you. This is the Codex app, and we hit this update button. I think at some point, ThursdAI is all going to be hitting the update buttons and seeing the new UI, barely reacting to this, and another UI drops, like we just did with Windsurf, like we're doing now with Codex. Let me pull up Codex. This is Codex. I don't know if I have
crazy. We just
the computer use.
We just talked to Devin and Windsurf. Like, and now we're talking about Codex. It's like it's a war, man.
Yeah.
It's a war.
I think they're all like fighting on the same playground. The computer use is now a. Do I have this computer? No, I don't have the computer use plugin. Interesting.
Might have to update or nothing.
I just updated. But okay, let's read from Tiba what else is there. Incredible team behind all this. Computer use in-app browser, image generation and editing, which is not the new model that was rumored to come, right? And plugins and multi-terminal SSH into dev boxes, thread automations. So a bunch of updates for
there. Yeah, look, they show, if you can, yeah, exactly, scroll down. They show the in-app browser can do front-end work for you. Because you know how it was like with agents that you need to like integrate them to your browser and like convince them really, really hard that they need to touch the browser to see what they're working on and close the loop. They pretty much close the loop for you with an in-app browser, which is a really good idea. Like you don't need to do it. That's really useful, seriously. All right. And Codex can now use a GPT image 1.5 to generate and iterate on images. That's cool. That's cool. You could do that before that only on ChatGPT, and now you can do it in the Codex.
But I think what now is the important part is we're getting confirmation the Codex is going to be the super app and not like the ChatGPT app. It looks like they're pulling everybody into Codex, not the other way around.
Look, the thing is that Codex is an agent. It can do like multi-step reasoning and multi-step messing around your computer in multi-step and not just a single step answering. Like ChatGPT, even though ChatGPT can go and look stuff online, it's agentic already. But they want to consolidate everything under one UI. And Codex app is a really good harness on its own, especially if you consider like harnesses that are like, I don't know, with UI and so on. It's one of the best offerings today.
Okay, this is also a feature. We're releasing a preview of memory, which allows Codex to remember useful context of premium experience, including personal preferences, corrections, information that took time to gather. I think that's super cool. When you just talked about like how do we manage longer context, and memories is a big part of it.
That is what jumped out to me in this tweet from Thibaut, where there's like 8 really amazing things, but he said learns from experience. And I think all of us who do non-trivial stuff in coding agents, we're always trying to like add this to the notes file, add this to the README. Wait, write down exactly how you got here so we don't get in this loop. I have a particular, I'm trying to get Codex and Claude to write Blackwell optimized kernels for DGX Spark as my other side project. And it is so far out beyond what they can easily do that I spend 3/4 of my time nudging them to like, no, get out of that loop. We were in that loop yesterday. Let's get out of that loop. Learn from experience is just a massive unlock if they can put the pieces together.
I'm really hoping that they could put the pieces together. I have a hard time with their automations. I wasn't able to solve their automation, not being able to like git pull or something. I'll need to figure out if they fix this. But obviously, you could use Codex before with Playwright with like different things. But now it's a native computer. You can like go and click buttons on your behalf. Also SSHing into other places as well. So you don't have to like SSH, run Codex on there. Hey, this is Alex from the editing floor. I had a chance to... Hey, this is Alex from the editing floor. I had a chance to play with Codex and computer use, and it's a much bigger deal than we realized while doing the live show. So that's why I went live for another hour. Here's a small segment of that very, very exciting stream that I'm going to add to you here. The computer use that they've added is the result of this acquisition OpenAI had with the Software Inc. company and a Mac app called Sky. And it's just incredible. And the most important thing about this that you should know before you finish listening to the show is that the computer use happens in the background. So they have another cursor. They don't use your cursor to click things. So you can actually ask it to do something and you can work on something else. This is the only experience like this that I know of that allows you to do computer use. It's also really, really, really good. Here's my live reaction from that stream. Do you guys see the cursor? Do you guys see this thing? It's gonna like click into things. I'm not actually no idea what it's gonna do, but it's supposedly gonna it's gonna upload the file. And it's gonna choose the file. Right? It's gonna go to the downloads folder now, if it's smart. This is the thing that you cannot get with like just browser use. You cannot like when you have browser use, it ends at the moment of opening a native file element. It's going to downloads. Let's go. Let's go. Do you guys see this? I'm so excited about this. It literally goes to the downloads file. And it's going to choose the MP3 because it knows. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Come on. Oh, this is beautiful. This is why I joined those live streams. This is why I did this. It's look. You can see it was a little bit faster. It was a little bit faster. I would be insanely impressed. Ooh, does it work with Spark? Does it work with Spark? Oh my God, if it works with Spark, I'm doing it. No, Spark is actually not multimodal, right? So it shouldn't work with Spark. Spark is just text. It does work with Spark. No, okay, folks. Sorry for the excitement. I'm not gonna be sorry for the excitement. Fuck you. I'm excited. It works with Codex Spark, which runs on Cerebrus and runs like with super fast. Just not with the images, but the demo we probably. I want to finish on two things. AI for normies. This is somebody asked me to do like a corner here. AI for normies. Let's try to do this, folks. In an absolutely weirdest thing, that two weird things in the world of AI. One of them is robots are coming for Olympic runners. So this is a unitary robot that breaks running at 100 million, like 100 miles, 100-meter dash. This unitary robot is coming for you, and you won't be able to escape it if it's coming for you because it's so stupid fast. Look at this.
Yeah,
This is the world
you can run
record.
away from.
This is too loud. This is the world record for 100 meters, and it beats it at like 10 seconds, 10.1 or something, which is absolutely crazy. 10 meters per second is the speed of run for this robot. Okay, we don't have a reactions for this, which is like tight-lipped.
I have a reaction.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say real quick, shout out to the camera guy because he looks like he was almost catching up to it. Yeah.
He should climb on the shoulders of the other robot and just like run behind them. And also the fact the camera guy is still human, that's also a testament to where we are. In completely other weird, bizarro news from the world of AI, apparently if you have a shoe company and you decide that you no longer want to make shoes, you can just say to people, hey, we're going to sell GPUs to people. In the complete weird ass pivot of the weirdness of this, like 2026, Bird, the company that made shoes, IPO'd in 2021 at $4 billion valuation. Why a shoe company would IPO this size? I don't know. They were Silicon Valley's favorite shoe. I didn't like the shoes. I have Birds and I didn't love them. But okay, they lost 99% of their value, 99% of the value in 4 years. They closed every store. Now they sold all the brand, rebranded themselves as Bird AI or New Bird AI, using $50 million to buy GPUs and compete with AWS and with CoreWeave, and their stock shot up 450%. Again, I will say very slowly, what the fuck is going on? And where are they buying those GPUs that we haven't bought them yet already? That's what I don't understand. It's not like you can get $50 million and just will start giving you. Where are they getting those GPUs? We're looking for them. Apparently, you can be a shoe company and just shut up. I'm pretty sure that the stock is now falling because people are like gambling and shorting and whatever. But what about that pivot, folks? What about that pivot from a shoe company to a GPU company?
They literally implemented the more you buy, the more you save. You just buy a bunch of GPUs and you print money.
You print money on the stock market.
That's the new business model.
I really don't understand where they're buying those GPUs because we need some. All right, folks. I think this is it. This is it for our show for this week. We talked about breaking news from Anthropic with Claude Opus 4.7. We also talked about Alibaba continuing the open source with Apache 2 Qwen 3.6. We had great guests on the show. One of them is still here, Qwen Leclamer with Gradient Bank. Go play Gradient Bank. It's really fun. If you're thinking that it's fun to code with your agents, imagine how fun it is to just play without the fact that you have to like report on what you did. If you missed any part of the show, ThursdAI is a live show, blog, newsletter, and a podcast, and that's going to come out very soon as well, so you don't have to feel like you missed anything. Definitely the show from last week, if you missed that one, definitely go check it out. We had 5 amazing guests live from the AI engineer floor, including Swix, including Omar Sansivero, our friend of the pod from Google DeepMind, including VB from OpenAI, and we had Vincent Koch, who's a maintainer on OpenClaw. Also, everybody, like the same show. So we're definitely going to be dedicated to bringing great guests and all the news possible. Thank you for participating. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, co-host, for joining us as well. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you all.